Hi, I'm Rachel Abbasi. Welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. As always, thanks for spending time with me. Hello and happy Wednesday. I have a topic for you, and the topic is freedom from fear versus freedom from want. And when I heard this, I thought, what the heck is freedom from want? I don't know. It could be the stroke. I have no idea, but I could not process what that meant. But freedom from want, what that means is, always having enough money, having the perfect health, getting what I want all the time. I think I talked about that yesterday, not getting what I want, disappointment. So I guess this is related. Um, Having certainty about the future and avoiding discomfort and pain. So I thought when I was drinking and when I got sober that if I didn't want, like if I had everything that I wanted, what is there to be afraid of? Right? Well, when I went through step 4 and began to see that the crux, I never used that word before in my life, the crux, but it's the only one that came to my brain of my snags in my relationships was fear. My own fears about abandonment and you name it. But really, the trend for me in my relationships and what caused resentments and all of that was fear. So that would allude to happiness actually not being related to freedom from want, but instead being free from fear. Um, I think that there really isn't ever gonna be a time in my life that I'm not going to want something. Maybe because I'm a brat. Didn't I talk about that yesterday? Maybe because I'm still a little brat, but that I will want, I mean, I was just on Amazon this morning. That's what I mean. Like, as soon as a want is satisfied, another one appears. Like, there isn't really any freedom found in getting everything that I want because everything I get, I want more. Um, that doesn't mean that I'm not grateful. I do. I spend every day, I spend some time acknowledging what I'm grateful for. But freedom in my recovery, in the area of like spirituality is really freedom from fear. That is when I finally got to this point of serenity. Serenity did not come from getting things that I want. Like when I was on that run and I thought, many of you have probably remember me talking about, sorry, my words are difficult to find this morning, so we're just gonna have to give it the old college try. Um, I talked about being on a run in early sobriety, the first year that I realized what serenity felt like. Like it was like nothing was wrong at that very moment. That wasn't because I got everything I wanted. Like I was still in the same house. I still had the same boyfriend. I still, like everything was still the same. I was still having struggles with financially. That stuff didn't go away, but the fears went away. Um, I can either live as a prisoner of fear um, and or live as a prisoner of want. So when I think of living as a prisoner of want, that makes me think of chasing relief. Like it's almost related, like what is going to make my fear go away? What is going to make my discomfort go away? Oh, these things I want will make them go away, and they're not going to. So, for example, I'm fearful of um, going to this specific event. Okay. So a drink will make that better. That's what I mean by a prisoner of want and it being related to being a prisoner of fear. It's almost like if I'm a prisoner of want, I'm a prisoner of both. I'm a prisoner of fear and a prisoner of want. I want a drink to give me relief. I want some sort of immediate gratification, comfort. I want control of people, places, and things so that I don't have to deal with the anxiety or depression or fear. I want approval from everyone else. I want to escape. My happiness, I thought, depended on whether my wants were fulfilled. And if that's the case, I'm living in a constant state of dissatisfaction. Like there's always something missing. So I talk about all the time my wanter, and that wanter inside of me was never satisfied. When I got to the point of nonstop craving for drinking, that was my wanter that was never satisfied. They say one drink is never enough, um, and one is too many. What? One drink is never enough, and one drink is too many. I can't remember how it goes. Anyway, that constant state of wanting and constant state of dissatisfaction were exhausting, but really fear was hiding underneath everything that I wanted. My wants are actually fears in disguise. When I want control over people, places, and things, it's because I'm afraid of the outcome. I want certainty because I'm afraid of the outcome. I want alcohol because I'm afraid to feel. I want people to approve of me because I'm afraid of rejection. Um, Fear was driving the bus, and I sat in the passenger seat thinking like all the signs were want signs, think like they were not. I'm trying to navigate the fear by following the signs of want. And that just kept me again in that constant state of dissatisfaction. So if I apply this to my stroke recovery, because I try to practice these principles in all of my affairs, I try, progress, not perfection, but in stroke recovery, I can see that rear its ugly head again. So a lot of what I wanted, what I want, let's keep it present tense because I'm not done learning. A lot of what I want, I can't have. And it's not the thing that I want that is the problem. It is the fear that's the problem. I want my old life back. I want to be able to drive. I want my independence. I want to not live with constant pain. I want to work. Like I want all of these things, but what lives underneath all of that want is fear. I want all of those things because I don't know what is ahead of me if that's not happening. Like if I'm not living my life the way that I used to, then how am I going to live? When I first had gosh, after the first 2 years after I had my stroke, I was trying to fit a square into a round hole, a square peg into a round hole. Um, that was me going back to work and pretending like I could do everything that I could do before. And I remember going into work, driving into work, driving. I was driving into work and my head hurt so bad by the time I got to work, which was 16 minutes driving, that I had to shut my office door, turn out the light, and sit there with my eyes closed for at least a half an hour in order to be able to function. Um, so I kept trying. I wanted to have my whole old life back. So I tried to control that and make it happen. And it didn't happen. Like life proved to me that I couldn't do it. And then, so when I finally medically retired after 2 years of trying to fit the square peg into the round hole, um, sorry, my mind went blank. It's coming though. It's right on the edge. Let's see here. Oh man, it was right there. It was right there. It's so difficult to record a podcast when I have these terrible symptoms, which is why a lot of times I don't record now. Like I used to just record every day no matter what. And now I try to avoid situations like this where I'm like, it's not like I just forget what I'm saying and I can pick up. I forget what I'm saying and it's gone. Like it's totally gone. I don't even know what the topic was that we were talking about. That's how bad it gets. So I have my notes in front of me. So I'm not going to be able to prove the point, which I know I had an amazing point, but it's gone. So I'm going to keep moving on with my outline that I have in front of me. And I apologize, but you guys keep coming back for me because you don't mind. So love you for that. Okay. So the more I would focus on what I wanted, the more I suffered. And in I got it. I got it. What I was going to say. When I retired, I oh my gosh, it went away again. Man, there must be like this part of my brain that when I get right to the neuron like stops. There's like an obstacle. There's like a dead end in my brain. And when I want to say that one thing that I keep forgetting, it reaches that dead end. Um, oh my gosh, it's killing me. I could not envision a future. That's what I was going to say. I could not envision a future at 2 years when I finally retired. And that that desire to have my old life back and that trouble with not being able to envision my future left me in this hole. And the more that I wanted from my old life, the more that I suffered because I wasn't ever going to be able to go back there. And I spent 2 years trying to make that happen, to try to control that. when I finally admitted complete defeat, which I talked about in a couple episodes ago. So if you want to hear about what that's like in stroke recovery to admit complete defeat, go back to that episode. Because for me, I could not move forward until I let go. I could not take another step forward until I took my foot out of the past and into the present. I needed to accept life on life's terms. I'm not getting what I want this time. I need to grow up. You know, I am my own mother. And so that grown up recovery person inside of me needed to have a conversation with that little girl inside of me that says, okay, now's where the rubber meets the road. You're not going to get what you want right now. And so we need to stop stomping our feet up the stairs and slamming the door. Nothing is going to change the fact that you had a stroke. And these things that you want to happen, the longer you continue to desire those things, the longer that you keep your feet in the past, the long that you're still stomping up the stairs and slamming the door if you keep doing that. So developing the willingness to accept. The acceptance itself has taken years. I hate to say that to somebody who's entering into stroke recovery, but because it takes time. It's not like I I retired from my job and I entered into full-time stroke recovery that I was like, okay, I accepted I had a stroke. I had a stroke and my life is going to change forever. That's not how it worked. Like, I can still want things. There's nothing wrong with wanting things. I want to feel better. I want to have more energy. I want to not live in pain. Like, of course, I want those things. But the problem is when your serenity depends on those things that you want. Like, my serenity today depends on my willingness to do the next right thing so that the future may bring me less pain, better health, more energy, my willingness to be self-aware that, okay, you're pushing yourself too far. No matter how much you want to go kayaking, this is what your body needs to do. That's what stroke recovery, that that's how I have developed or used my sobriety in stroke recovery, my sobriety tools in stroke recovery. That stop being fearful that I'm never going to be able to go kayaking again. Stop being fearful that I'm never going to have a pain-free day. And instead focus on what can I do to feel my best right this minute. And it's interesting that this topic came totally full circle to me because my morning meeting actually was I shared about how I was always this this never and always kind of person, this catastrophic thinking kind of person. And the morning meeting was about living one day at a time and living, for me, 1 minute at a time. And that's what it looks like in stroke recovery for me is I need to check in with myself throughout the day. And I have to weigh what I want with my fears. I have to weigh what I want with my willingness to focus on what really matters, to focus on my health. And so freedom from fear for me looks like willingness. Fear does not get the final say in my life anymore. Um, Feeling uncertain and moving forward anyway. I make mistakes all the time with with moving towards what I want instead of moving towards what's best for my health. I do it all the time. So I need to be willing to give myself grace. That's hard too. But that's where freedom from fear is just being more aware of what's going on between my ears, being vulnerable, feeling uncertain, feeling grief is okay. Um, Staying connected, doing the next right thing, that's what leads me towards feeling more hopeful and away from the fear. Feeling disappointed is normal for me. And I talked about it yesterday. Um, Being willing to participate in life anyway. Um, I've said in the past, courage is not fearlessness. It's acting despite the fear. And the fear shrinks when I pick up the phone and call someone. I got to talk to my sponsor today. Finally, it's my fault, not hers. Um, Connection weakens fear, and isolation deepens it. So in sobriety, I've learned to talk about, I think that was really one of the messages from yesterday was talk about my fears. And in stroke recovery, it's been the same. Like talk about it. The fears that seem enormous in my head shrink, guaranteed shrink, sometimes faster, sometimes slower when I talk about it out loud. Fear grows in the secrecy, and faith, willingness, acceptance, all of that stuff grows in connection. So, um, that's it. That's all I got. My brain can't take anymore. I'm not going to apologize for this one being lackluster at best because I kept forgetting what I'm going to say, but I'm not going to go back and delete it because that would only make my head worse. You guys are troopers for listening to the whole thing, and thanks for showing up for me and for you, and I will talk to you next time.